Hey everyone, oh my god, I need to learn how to be on time. So let's wait for our guest of the night. Can you guys please join? Add yourselves. Thank you. Thank you for attending, guys. Thank you so much for joining. It's gonna be unloaded with information as every Tuesday night does. Ray, are you there? Okay, let's see what's going on. All right, we got Ray here.
Hey.
Do you have another phone for any of the other platforms, or you just gonna do Facebook?
So that's what I was trying to log into my Instagram from my business phone, and I cannot remember the password.
Oh no.
It's
Okay.
crazy. That's
Tell
why I was
Sons to
asking,
join
like,
on
is there?
Instagram then.
What'd you
Sons
say?
could at least be on Instagram. Sons, I don't see her here. She could at least be on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah. And maybe Facebook too if she can, but if not, Instagram for sure. Or even TikTok.
Is there an app where you can like record on all of them, or at least two of them at once? Do like go live? I meant to ask
I'm
Chat.
not sure. You know what? There might be, but I
Let
don't
me
know. I
see.
haven't heard of one. I have to go get me 4 phones. I got four. I got phones in front of you, and I got this extra phone playing the music in the
Okay.
back end. Yeah.
Okay. I'm still trying to get in my Instagram. If not, then I think I can share
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Try to see if you can get on there. Sons, are you here? Can you call Sons and see what's going on with her? Why she's not? Call Psalms, ask her why she's not in the live. We need to start. We're gonna give her like just 2 more minutes and then Ray, we just gonna go ahead and start. Okay.
Yeah, I cannot get in here. I'm gonna have to reset my
Well,
whole
Facebook might be fine. Facebook should be okay. If you, yeah. That's what's
It'll
been
be okay
happening
for
every
today.
single live.
I put my Facebook link on my Instagram. I did that
Mm,
just in case because I'm like, hey, you know, I might not be able to get in.
I know. It's been a hot minute since you logged in.
Ooh,
Ray, let's go ahead and start. So, you said you wanted to give the audience some tips on how to save money and taxes through life insurance. Can you explain exactly what is life insurance? Because sometimes when people hear the word, they don't think a big deal about it. And what type of products that you offer and all that. So that way people can kind of understand.
okay. So life insurance is and it was crazy is it's called life insurance, and most people actually think of it or relate it to death, right? So
Mhm.
that's the crazy part, and I think that's why a lot of people shy away from it. Where life insurance is planning for the event, that something happens to you, right? And
Mhm.
it should be utilized as a wealth generating tool so that your family, doesn't have to worry about the expenses of your death and what comes along with it. When some people die, people
Mhm.
lose an extra source of income, and
Yeah.
that could be a breadwinner in a family and something like that. So life insurance
Mhm.
is, think about it as the monetary protection of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and with the company that I work with, we actually
Mm-hmm.
don't have death only insurance. We
Mm-hmm.
actually offer some living benefits, which most companies do actually offer, living benefits,
Mm-hmm.
but they're like the criteria to actually qualify to get it is so strict. Like you have to be dang near dead. Yes, you're living, but you have to be critical,
Right.
like
Mm-hmm.
terminal illness, or you have to be
Mm-hmm.
in a nursing home or something like that to use it.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, so their life insurance and the tax advantages, like that's really, what I want to, go over today,
Mm-hmm.
in the different products, because most people, when they think about life insurance, they only know one type of life insurance, right?
Right.
And that's typically the term life insurance. And then term life insurance is temporary. So you can get those
Mm-hmm.
policies for a certain amount of time, 10
Mm-hmm.
to 30 years. And then
Mm-hmm.
once you're done with that 30 years, it's
Mm-hmm.
over with. You basically, if you didn't die, you didn't,
Yeah.
utilize that policy. But
Right.
with the, but with the term policy, you do
Mm-hmm.
have tax-free death benefits. So
Did you
if you
say
were,
the term policy, TERM?
yes, ma'am, term.
Okay. Okay.
And we want to associate term with temporary. So term means it will end at some point of view, at some point in time.
Okay.
So the tax advantages of the term policy is that
Mm-hmm.
when the person dies and they have a term policy, they can withdraw that
Mm-hmm.
money tax free.
Mm-hmm.
The money will
Right.
not be, taxed. Versus
Mm-hmm.
permanent policies, there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of different tax advantages in there. And I know you kind of had like a few questions for me and stuff like that. So I don't want to, just
Yeah.
jump all the way into it and, not kind of have a conversation.
Yeah. So, Sons, you have some questions for her?
Sure.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing? Sorry, I just joined
We
in.
were trying to figure out what's going on. Did you get caught up in the storm or something?
No, well, that earlier, but when I tried saying that prompt for Facebook Live,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't find it. I still
Oh,
can't find
you
it.
still can? I mean, if you
Yeah.
go on Facebook, you should be able to see the live.
Second.
Mm-hmm. But if you can't
Yeah.
get it, it's fine. So let's go ahead and throw some questions at Ray so we can fully understand what's going on. Because
Mhm. Okay, so one specific question I had as it pertains to life insurance, whole life as well as term life insurance, is pertains to the myth that's around. A lot of people think um,
I'm
that
sorry.
life insurance itself is not relevant while you're still alive. Like, why take life insurance when I'm not gonna use it? There's no use for it. Some people feel like that way. Can
Okay.
you speak to that?
Yeah, so like I was saying just before you jumped on, that type of insurance that is considered more so death only is going to be a term policy, right? Because you only have you only have a death benefit in that policy, and that's only beneficial to when you die, because for one, it's temporary. Um, and it's the least cost effective. It's going to cost you the least. There's no cash value built into that policy versus when you have
mm-hmm.
permanent life insurance. Those life insurance policies build a cash value. And in the cash value portion is where you're able to utilize those benefits while you're alive. But also, let
Mm-hmm.
me backtrack. I'm sorry, because my company, we actually do have living benefits even with the term, policy. So that And then we also offer a combination policy that only our company offers, where you can actually combine a permanent policy with a term policy, so you can get, a little bit of both. Let's say you can't
Uh-huh.
afford this $1 million policy, right, just in permanent life, but let's say we can break it down for you where you can get so much in term, which is more affordable than the whole than a permanent policy. So the permanent policies, those are different categories. You have the whole life, you have IULs, you have universal life, and you have variables, and those vary, and those also, cost more. They're permanent and you get more advantages. And when we speak about advantages, we're also speaking about those tax advantages. So for instance, in not the whole life, but in a IUL or something where your money is actually in the market and you're making money, your taxes are not just deferred. Let's say, for example, like an original IRA, retirement account. Those are tax deferred. They say, oh yeah, that's good. That's a good account to have. I'm not paying taxes on
Right.
anything that I'm putting in it. However,
Mhm.
when you go to
Mhm.
withdraw that money, it's going to be taxed. Versus
Right.
you putting the money into a life insurance policy and your cash value, your your tax deferred, and also you're not dealing with the tax deferred portion. You get capital gains, tax free capital gains, as well as no taxes when you pull that money out.
Don't you
Also,
have to pay that stuff back if you take it out from the life insurance?
you do not. So
Mm.
it's an unstructured loan. So let's say that's the
Mhm.
difference with a life insurance loan versus unstructured and structured. Structured means, hey,
Mhm.
you're going to go by these terms, you're going to pay on this date by this month, every year, and if you don't, you default on that loan. And now, we can report you to the credit bureaus, or we can try to possess, or all type of things they can do to try to go after their money. Versus with an unstructured loan, you pay these loan back on your terms. And if you don't pay it back, then they will just deduct that from your cash, available cash value or death benefit, let's
Mhm.
say, if you deplete that, cash value. So it's kind of like a win-win. Like, hey, yes, I can pay myself back, but if I don't,
Mhm.
I don't have to worry about it. It's just deducted from what I have available to me.
Mhm. Nice. Wow.
Interesting.
So, what if I never take money out from my life insurance? What happens? Do I ever get the accumulated funds at some point, even if I'm still alive, or how does that work? Because
Well,
I'm paying all the time. Because in my head, I rather take my money and buy real estate. I like to buy houses and
yeah,
cars.
yeah.
And so I feel like, okay, that's giving me a ROI. So
Hmm.
how is life insurance better than that? Tell me.
So that's exactly what most business owners do. Business owners do, and I also like to take that back to, like, building generational wealth, right? Because that's what the Rockefellers
Mhm,
did. They used their
mhm,
life insurance policies to pull money out and invest in real estate, right? And grow
mhm,
their family wealth. So that's how you transition
Interesting.
into, generational wealth. You're pulling money out of these policies out of the cash value so that you can invest in your business, whatever business venture you
mhm,
want. For you, you're saying real estate. So now you got two wins, because you
mhm,
got two good tax businesses that you can get that are tax advantageous, right? So
mhm.
for you, you have to pull it out to actually utilize it. So you don't want to say, "Oh, I'm not going to ever pull it out." But hey, you pull it out,
Right.
and they can't tell you no. It's your money.
What are the
And
monthly payments looking like for stuff like that? Like somebody were to go into something like that to take the money to reinvest into real estate. How much am I looking at paying per month?
so that's a case by case scenario, because you also have to, like, there are like qualifying things in regards to your age, your sex, lifestyle and stuff like that that can contribute to the policy amount. So that's really a case by case scenario. But on let me say I'm gonna say, like, for something with a good cash value where you're putting in so you can actually see the liquid faster, you're looking at
Mm-hmm.
like $300 a month.
Okay.
Like starting out, on the low end, and that can go up depending on how much money you decide to put in that cash value portion.
So if I start putting $300 a month, how long do I have to wait till I can start pulling money out?
You said when you start putting it in.
Yeah, so let's
So
say we decide to
for
move
most,
forward in July. How long do I have to wait till I'm able to start pulling money out?
like generally speaking, the because you have to actually build that liquidity to actually pull it, those liquid assets out.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I tell people like you need to pay in for at least 2 years, so
Okay.
that you can have a good liquid, amount to pull out. Or you can always put in more. So that's the another option is say, hey, I want to pour in my money, but I don't have that much, to put into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got 2 years. Some people they have extra money. They may want to put in 1,000, each month to build up
Mm-hmm.
to a certain point where they can have more liquid access. Say, you got to go like, hey, I want to buy this real estate by this time. Let me put in my money here instead of
Yeah.
going to go borrow money from a bank, and you got to deal with high interest rates and stuff like that and approvals. And so why not let me put my money here so I can borrow from
Mm-hmm.
myself. um
Right.
and speaking of banks, 20% of most banks assets are in the life insurance cash value policies because they know money. They know, how to make a return on their, investments. So,
Interesting.
mhm. And that's,
Reverend,
y'all can go
that's
look that up. Like,
interesting.
yeah, 20% of banks that people borrow from have their money in insurance
Mm-hmm.
policies.
Wow.
That that is interesting, and
Mm-hmm.
that leads me to ask Raven. I know, like, for on the investment portion of the policy, if the um the premium holder were to pull out that money or the payout, and if they had accumulate gains on that portion of the investment,
Mhm.
are they gonna be taxed on those
No,
gains?
they are not. They are not taxed on the capital gains, and they are not taxed on anything they pull out of it.
Oh,
Would you
And that's
say
the
it's
part
better to go ahead?
I said. No, they're not taxed on the capital gains. They're not taxed on any gains that they make from that money, and they're not taxed if they pull it out either.
Okay.
okay.
So for business owners, because we do have a couple business owners. Hi, Nancy. We do have a couple of business owners on this live. Um, would you recommend somebody buy a life insurance policy in their business or on their personal account? Are you there, Ray? I think she's frozen. You heard my question?
Yeah, can y'all hear me?
Would you recommend someone buy life insurance in their business or personally?
So that's going to be a case by case because it depends on like your goals. And that's
Mm-hmm.
honestly more of an accountant question because your accountant knows your books, right? They know what your goals are and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I recommend as a business owner and a just an individual person, I recommend both, right? But sometimes people can't do both. So I would say if you're growing your business and you can afford to put your, invest, you want to invest more in your business, get it, for
Mm-hmm.
your business, right? But
Mm-hmm.
to be safe, in regards to ethically, I have to tell you that is more of a case by case scenario, and that's something that your accountant or
Mm-hmm.
your tax, professional should look into best. That would be the best option for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which
Like,
company do you work with, Raven?
Premier Financial Alliance, and we are
Okay.
partnered with Globe Life, National Globe Life. I'm
Okay.
sorry, National Life Group.
And
National Life Group.
can you just give us like some more details on the products that you offer, like the different plans and stuff like that, so we can get an idea.
Okay, so yes, we offer term and we offer permanent, and we offer all of the permanent options being the variable, flexible, whole. And we also partner with another company called Foresters, where we're able to offer burial insurance. So we offer everything. And for our living benefits portion, I don't want to give away too much on the living
Yeah.
benefits portion because that's those are for my
What's the
one-on-one.
difference between you and another company like Primerica or another company? What's the difference
Okay. So
between?
Primerica only offers term. So they don't have any options. They only offer term insurance policies, which are still good options, right? Just to make sure you have, life insurance. That's really, still a good option. However, they only offer term, whereas National Life Group, we offer term and permanent policies, and we also have proprietary products. So I could just get y'all in my personal business, and this is really why I decided to join this company. Is that back in 2016, I had an emergency surgery. I almost died. Like, didn't even know, but I was dying. Like about dying, but I almost died. I had emergency surgery. I had got diagnosed with endometriosis, and I had a tumor on my left ovary, and I had a cyst on my right ovary. The cyst on my right ovary burst, and I had toxins like basically in my body. So I had went to the hospital thinking I had back pain and found out all these things. However, I was in college at the time. I did not have, I wasn't covered in with health insurance. There was a lapse in my health insurance policy, and I also didn't work a job where I had short-term disability or anything like that. My company offers a living benefit for a critical illness, and cystic fibrosis and endometriosis is covered under that, living benefit.
Mhm.
So I'm in my 20s, I'm still in college, I'm young, and that's another misconception that if you're younger, you don't need it.
You
Well,
don't need
I'm
it.
prime example. And when I went through that time of my life, I had to give up everything but my, actual house, like a roof over my head. My priorities were like, you need to pay your rent, car got repossessed, all type of things. However, if I had this living benefit in a life insurance policy, I would have been able to tap into that because that's considered a critical illness. I mean, not a critical
Oh.
illness, a critical injury. So
Mm-hmm.
that's a big thing. So that's one thing I know for sure that no other company has. That's proprietary, and we also have an Alzheimer's living benefit, which is Alzheimer's rates are going up higher. People are living longer, and it costs a lot, to take care of Alzheimer's,
Mm-hmm.
individual people with, Alzheimer's. So and that hits home for a lot of people, that have experienced that. And if you have to get certain care for them, care can be $5,000 to $30,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another proprietary product that only we have out of the 6 living benefits.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Does anybody on the live have questions right now?
I do see we have one question from the audience, Desi.
Okay, who's
Okay,
asking?
do you read it? It's from
Oh, okay.
V.
Yeah, from V. If you
Reference.
take all your cash value out, doesn't the client lose the death benefit? For people that are not wealthy, can this be a dangerous tactic? Can you answer it, please?
You said if they take all the cash value out.
Yeah, if you
So
take all your cash value out, doesn't the client lose the death benefit? For people that are not wealthy, can this be a dangerous tactic?
So to answer the first portion of the question, the death benefit and their cash benefits are independent. They are not one, and they're not tied to each other. They're in the same policy, but they're independent of each other. So the death benefit means somebody has, they have to die to use it. However, if you do complete the cash value portion, then you just don't have any, of that to pay out. So no, you're not. They're independent of each other. And can this be? What was the second part of the question?
Can this be a dangerous tactic?
Can it be a dangerous tactic for someone to invest in a cash value or like variable
Yeah, like to get
policy?
the cash value. If you have a cash value and you're taking all the money out, doesn't the client lose the death benefit for
No,
people
they do
that
not.
are for people that are not wealthy?
No, they do not lose the death benefit. The death benefit portion will still be there. However,
Separate.
if you're
Did
talking
you hear
about
what she said? She said they will not lose the death benefit, that they're independent of each other. V, are you still there?
so, but I do want to go into just kind of speak on that topic a little bit more because so if you have a whole life policy and that's honestly like more it's structured, it's not flexible. This is like that's the amount you're paying, this is your cash value, and you're not actually in the market. However, you have variables and
Oh,
flexible.
V just responded. Sorry, Ray. She said, that is very unique because I know people that have lost it.
Well, that's what I'm going into to speak more into because it depends on what type of permanent policy you have,
Okay.
right? So um variable policies and flexible policies, I don't know why they would lose their death benefit but not in my company. You don't lose your death benefit. um
Mm.
so I guess that's another thing that's unique to
She
us.
said because they borrowed against their cash value, they lost their death benefit.
Definitely. It's interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting. That tell them to give me a call because I'm curious to see what happened.
V, she said to
However,
give her. V, do you want to come on the live? Can you send a request to join the live? V, please try to see if you can join from Facebook or Instagram. Either one. V, Sauce, can you come on TikTok?
I do want to make it clear though that if you're doing a whole lot, I mean, a permanent policy that's flexible or
Mm-hmm.
that's variable in the market, like you're putting your money in the market. Yes, you can move lose money in the market. You can, but that's dealing with your cash value, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thus, that money is your cash value portion that is going into the market, not your death benefit. And
Okay.
that's also why it's very important to have as much information on a policy that you're getting because maybe there was something written in that policy where the terms stated that, like, hey, if you lose this much, then or you don't, I don't know what the stipulations were part of that policy, but that's why the policy delivery portion is very important so that you understand what you're getting before you fully jump into it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mhm. I understood too if certain health issues or conditions was not disclosed during the time of requesting the policy,
Mm.
then you may lose the policy.
She said it wasn't disclosed during
You
her.
may lose the benefits.
She said if certain health conditions were not disclosed before you got the policy, and then it happens
Oh,
after the fact, then you will
okay.
lose the policy.
Okay, so let me say this. There's a 2-year contestability period. So when you get life insurance, and y'all, I got a story for almost everything. I'm not gonna go into that in depth with that, but there's a 2-year contestability clause. So if you get a life insurance policy and you pass away within the 2 years, the life insurance company can investigate your application and your medical records to make sure nothing you didn't lie on your application, right?
Mm.
So if they find out, let's say you said you didn't have diabetes, but come to find out you did have diabetes, right? And something happens to you and it's like, they cannot pay out that death benefit because you falsified information on your application. Now, has there been cases where people didn't intentionally, say something, maybe they forgot, it's been years, or maybe let's say you had asthma when you were a child but you have never had any issues with it, as an adult, so you don't
Mhm.
consider yourself asthmatic, right? And typically they go back 10 years, like 7 to 10 years in
Mm.
regards to your the medical. Um, so yes, that is a thing. If something happens to you within that 2 year contestability um, period, and it doesn't match what says on your application, they can they will what they will do is return the premiums that a person paid. They'll pay them. They'll give them their premium back, but they will not pay the death benefit.
Wow.
Wow.
I've never gotten my premiums back on the previous
Yeah.
one I had. So it's
Yeah.
interesting.
So they will send a check, and they will send a check, and that actually happened to my father. Like my father, when my father passed, got him um I had got him life insurance, health insurance, all that, like a couple months before he passed away. And when he passed away, they declined the payment, and they sent me a letter, and they told me the letter was, oh, because he went to urgent care and marked smoker. Well, in Oklahoma, medical marijuana is legal. So and they don't have a differentiation between tobacco and marijuana. However, I fought, I had to fight, go back and forth fighting, with the insurance company for that, payout. Like I spoke with, their lawyers. I went back and forth. Like I just didn't give up. And it took almost 2 years for them to eventually pay me out, because I was able to show them, hey, on my dad's policy, we stated that he was a marijuana smoker. However, when he went to the hospital, they just put smoker. They didn't differentiate between tobacco and marijuana. So, girl, I was on them like white on rice. I never gave up, but they initially did not pay me out. It took
Mm.
almost 2 years for me to get everything for go through that process to get the money back. And what they did? They sent me a check back for the premiums. So it was 400. We had paid it up for the year. They sent me a check back, and I had never cashed that check. And then they sent me another letter like, "Hey, we show that you have property. The property was the check of the premiums that I never cashed. So just FYI, if anybody you ever deal with that, something like that, and they send you your premium check back, but hey, no, this is not correct. I'm going to fight this. Do not deposit that check. Do not cash that check." I kept the check, never cashed the check, and eventually we got payment.
Mm. Well, this is V. She just joined the live. She had the
Hello, V.
question.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, and you?
I'm good. The reason I was asking is because I've dealt with clients. I actually sell life insurance myself. And I
Mm-hmm.
do sell I'm in a captive I'm a captive agent in
Okay.
and we do term only. And one of the things that we teach people is buy term and invest the difference. Because they're able to pay a low amount and we can put the money in the market where they don't have to necessarily wait 2 years, 2 to 3 years for that cash value to build. I do think that some of the things that you guys are offering are phenomenal, with Alzheimer's and things like that. But my concern has always been with people who are middle class, who, as far as income goes,
Mm-hmm.
is them adopting the strategy of, hey, get this policy to take the money out. Because if that money is taken out, I've had people who have been with other insurance companies who have come and said, "Hey, we just found out my husband lost his cash value because we took out a loan, not his cash value, lost his insurance policy because he took out a loan and it could no longer sustain it with the payments that they were doing, because in addition to the payment that they had to make of the regular premium, they did have to pay the money back that they had taken out of the cash value. And most policies in the illustration, it tells you that not only do you have to pay it back, but you have to pay it back with interest. I've seen the interest as high as like 8.5%. That's, as a matter of fact, that's one of the lower ones that I've seen. And so I understand that, like, when wealthy people take it and they say, "Hey, I want to use this," I have a client who used his whole life to fund it so he could take it out and buy property with it. Um, it doesn't make as much money because it's tied to the index. Whereas if it was like in the, in another part of the market, but he does make a little bit of money and he gets it back tax free. But then he also pays a whole lot of fees, and I talked to him like, is it worth it? All the fees you have to pay to get your money out. And he doesn't need it. So my concern has always been, when we tell people who don't make a lot of money that this is a policy they can borrow against, because in my and like I said, it's definitely unique to your product, but in my experience, when they have depleted the cash value, their policy is canceled.
Well, yeah, they're not automatically canceling their policy. You're stating that they can't keep up the repayments of the loan and the actual premium. Is that what you're saying? Just for clarity here? Because
Well, yeah.
that's
So, like,
okay.
if the premium is normally $100, but then they take
Yeah.
out the cash value, it's another 50. So they really should be paying 150. But that 50 that they should have been paying back is now being taken out of their cash value because they owe the insurance company that money. So as long as there's enough cash value there, they'll,
So
it is
yeah.
sustaining the policy. But once that cash value is gone,
Well,
that
that's saying that, and so to me, that saying they're not paying their premium. So if you're not
no, they're
paying your
paying the
premium,
premium, they're not paying the loan.
I've never heard of that. And not even just with my company. I've never heard of that. I'm curious to know. I don't know. I know you don't want to probably blast those companies, but offline, I'm curious to know who that is.
The most recent one that I worked with, the most recent one that I spoke with was with they were with Modern Woodmen of America, which is
Okay.
a reputable
So yeah.
company.
Yeah, and I used to have life insurance with them when I was a
Mhm.
kid. So I know
Yeah.
about Modern Women.
But like
However,
think
I've
about a
never heard.
Gerber policy. Once you take the money out, because they kind of tell parents, hey, you get this Gerber policy, you can use it for college. Once you take that cash value out, you no longer have the life
Yeah,
insurance.
but that's
That's
the that's
true.
the whole point of that policy, right?
But
Each
that's a cash
I
value
mean,
policy. If you take
the
the cash value, you don't get the life benefit. I think that's
okay, you done? Or
mhm, yeah. Mhm.
I just want to speak about it. So even in my company, if you have a cash value and you're not paying your premiums, they actually have a right. So and you actually have to opt into this. They have a rider where they'll actually pay your premium from your cash value,
Mhm.
right? Now, if that cash value depletes and is no longer paying your premium and you're not paying your premium, what happens if you don't pay your bills? You lose that service. However, they do give you a grace period. They give you a 30-day grace period, and most companies do. I haven't come into a company that doesn't give you a 30-day grace period to catch up on that payment, or But what I also like about my company is that we tell you everything. We're very I'm a transparent person, so I'm with a transparent company. And ethically, we should be putting a person in the best position for them, not just saying, hey, this is a good move to make money, but they can't afford it, right? So that goes back onto life insurance agents to make sure you're doing their ethical duty to be sure they're giving their client the best life insurance policy for them, right? Because also I would love to, I would make more money on permanent policies if a term policy is best suited for someone, which we do term and permanent. I'm going to tell them, hey, this is the best option for your situation. Or, hey, my company offers a policy, a combination where you can get so much of the term and so much of the permanent. And hey, also you have the option of maybe let's do a flexible permanent policy so that your income is at this level, you can pay this much, but as your income increases, you can increase that amount that you're paying in. So I want to be, very clear on that because a lot of life insurance agents are just in it for the money. And me, I'm
We have
passionate
another
about this.
question here,
Mm.
Ray,
Yes.
from Azurid. What
Azure
did he
D,
say?
Azure D. I
Yeah.
just him up. Where are y'all seeing the questions? I can't see the questions.
Sons, can you see the question? He's asking.
Only said because they borrowed against their cash
No,
value.
no, no, not there. On Facebook. He's asking on Facebook. He said, is it not the fact that they're taking out the cash value, is the fact that they still have to understand
Money management
money management.
is strategy, no matter your tax bracket.
Mm-hmm.
It's
That
not.
is true. That is true. And that's why I said it's, you know, most people don't, have true financial literacy or understand money management. Hey, and to be honest, I was never taught that. Those are things I've had to learn by going through,
Yeah,
hardships and still learning, hey, you need to do better with this, or if you're gonna make, investments, make good, investments and things like that.
investment trust.
So but I do like to pull it back on the professionals because we are the professionals and we should be teaching them like, hey, and putting them in the best position, not just in any type of policy.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where there's a great percentage of failure with these things because people are their agents aren't actually doing right by ethics, ethically. Like, hey, this is the best option for you and what you can afford. And hey, we can always do a policy review later to see if this is the best, in the future to if something changes, right? But we're gonna go back to the common misconception of, you know, I'm young, or do younger people need, life insurance? Well, yes, that's the best time to get life insurance because you're younger. You're it's going to be cheaper for you, and and if you do decide to get a permanent policy, compound interest. As you grow older, you want to get it in younger so that compound on the things that you earn is more. So yeah, I've never actually seen a case where somebody lost their actual death policy due to, and
That's
that's
how most of
unfortunate.
them work. Like I said, your company is
That's
this. I
unfortunate.
just I even just asked Chat GPT simply, if I take all the cash value, does my policy cancel? And it said, great question. Yes, your policy can cancel if there's not enough month for the cost of insurance and administrative
That's
fees.
the premium. Yes, so that's the
But
premium, and it's
I'm
paying
talking
in.
about the premium plus the loan. So when you take out cash value on I guess just a standard one, you have to pay that back in addition to your premium. And so that's where people are misguided. And here's the thing, it does say it. It says it in the paperwork. And a lot of times, just like when you show up to a closing for a house, you fill out so much paperwork, you get a lot
And
of
they not
information. You may not walk away with a real understanding that if you don't pay this loan back, it's gonna start taking it out of the rest of your cash value. So
That's
your
true.
your premium that you pay is not
Mm-hmm.
supporting enough to cover your cost of insurance plus the loan you took out. And
and
that
that's
is what can
typically on
cause a
whole life.
person.
That's typically whole life though,
Well,
not
that's what I'm talking about,
variable.
whole life cash value policy.
Okay. So but let's be clear, there are different type of permanent policies with cash values. Whole life is just one, you know. So that's when you're talking about, you got the variable policies and then you're, flexible like your IUL. So yes, whole lives are very strict. Like, yes, you get it's like and it's permanent and it's you're not taking as much risk, but it's very strict and more so structured. Like that's more so of a so when we get to talk about a structured versus unstructured loans, the unstructured loans you can, you have the choice of, when you pay it back, how you pay it back versus a structured loan. No, you got to pay it back by these terms.
Got you. Honestly, I just want to make sure that when people get them, because I've had people who have come and they say, hey, is this the policy you can borrow against? And so I just want to make sure always that people understand that if you're not overfunding that policy, that you are you're risking losing your death benefit, especially if you don't have money to pay for a funeral. like that
Mhm.
might not be the strategies you want to go. So that was what my
Yeah.
question was. It's just that,
Yeah.
is it a wise strategy for people who don't have the money and cannot afford to lose the death benefit because they borrowed the cash value and their policy cancels? That's what my question was earlier. It's just making sure that people understand that if they do that, they better be able to pay for a funeral if they don't pay that loan back. So,
Well,
Yeah.
see,
that's what my
honestly,
question was.
me as a life insurance agent, I wouldn't even put if I we going over your finances and things like that. Like, hey, and we're talking about what you can afford, and I get real like I just got a policy for my cousin, and she's in the process of buying a house. So I told her, hey, we know what's important for you right now. Let's do you a mixture of term and permanent, and later on, when you have more room to breathe, we can come back. But hey, let's say if that person did, Luke, they only had a whole life policy with a structure, you know, loan on the cash value, not a variable or flexor, where it's unstructured. If they had a combination of term, then it would, you still got the death benefit over here and the death benefit over here. But I've never actually seen that. But I would not advise a client of mine to get into something like that they couldn't afford. That goes back,
Well, and some people just want permanent insurance. I mean, so whether they
yeah,
can afford it or not, they're gonna get, they may pay $40 for $25,000. That
yeah,
because
true.
that's what they can afford because they want permanent. But just we just need to make sure that people are
But
clear.
they're educated, yeah, that
Yeah,
they're being educated on it and they understand that. And I feel like that's why the policy delivery portion is so important. And actually taking the time to go over it, those things, because most
yeah,
people don't. They'll send the person the policy and like, hey, it's approved, and it'll draft on this date, and that's it. You don't
hmm
hear from they're not going over the actual policy with you. So yes,
yeah,
I've sat on Zooms and had to go back again on Zooms to clarify and go over information, because of course, like, even with my tax clients, I'm very, transparent. And in my transparency, that brings up more questions for them. Versus some people, they may tell them just enough, to get them locked in, and there's not a lot of questions that, follow up questions after that. So within my transparency, that gets people thinking like, okay, well, what about this or what about that?
yes,
So
absolutely.
I think that's a good thing that really should be, I don't know how they I don't know. It's in every industry you got people that's just in it for the money. So they're not gonna make sure people are really done right and understand.
And understand their policies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, that
absolutely.
was a good question. Good thing to point out.
Thank you. That's what I just wanted to I just wanted to ask. Because that's one of the things that we talk to people about. Because
Mhm.
unfortunately we see it. And then, like, some people don't like term because it ends and things like that. But one of the things that I made it a point to do was to
Oh,
go
sorry.
forward to get my investment license so that we
Mhm.
could help people invest on the other side of it, so that, because hey, if you're paying $20 a month for $150,000, like for the next 30 years, we can get you into investment products where we can help you to make that difference. That if you decide whether you want to continue it and renew it, or if you still have your investment, you still have your money in a bank that's not necessarily tied to your insurance policy. And
And see,
so,
my company, and not just my company, a few companies also offer, you can conversions. You can convert your term policies
okay.
into, permanent policies. And a lot of people don't know that. They just let them, you know, go, at that 10 years up, that 15 years is up or whatever. And they're just like, oh, okay, you're done with it. But no, prior to the policy ending, and
But do they
each
have
company kind of
to?
has they have kind of stipulations. Each company has like kind of stipulations where they may have to requalify.
That's what I was
It
gonna
just
ask.
depends. Yeah, it depends on the company where they can convert their term
Hmm.
to permanent. So I don't want to say, I can't speak for every company, because they have difference, but most companies do have that option where you can convert.
Yeah, I know that sometimes though with that conversion, you do have to requalify. And so in like
Hmm.
20 years, you're a little bit older. Your health may not be where it
That's
would.
good.
You know,
Hmm.
like I think about my weight 20 years ago was not the same. And so,
Yeah.
you know, my 20-year-old weight and my 40-year-old weight is definitely two different price brackets. And
Yeah.
so, and so, yeah, that is always a concern. I know with us with term, our term is renewable without having to go through a process again. And
Yeah.
so, but I know some companies, some term to hold may even do that as well.
And then they also, this is a part of the education piece as well, is educating people on different riders they can put on there that may cost a little bit more, to where if you want to put that rider on there to where you don't have to requalify, right? Or you don't have to go through medical examining anymore. There's a rider that you can put on your policy for that. Yeah, you're going to pay a little bit more, but you may not have, you could be set at that rate, and when you decide to do something else, then you don't have to worry about that. So
Gotcha.
although I know it costs more for people, I still like, hey, this is an option for you. This may be something you're interested in, just so they know all of their options.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. People
Yeah.
definitely know their options. So, and at the
Yeah.
end of the day, I mean, even though I'm a by term investor difference girl, at the end of the day, I want people to have insurance.
Mhm.
I want
Right.
people to be
Yeah.
covered.
Just that's why I said,
And so,
if you got some insurance, yes.
yes. And so, and then, uh, that and we need to, like you say, just help people get into the best situation possible. And so yeah, I'm not here to hijack the live, but thank you so much for letting me
We're
come
so
on.
glad you joined. It was a great
Pin curling my hair.
discussion.
I had started pin curling my hair. That's why it took me a minute. I was like, oh Lord, I had to take my pin curls out, got my bobby pins here
Thank
on
you
the
so
table,
much.
like
Yeah.
So much.
I wasn't trying to be on the live. And so it took a minute.
It's
So
okay.
glad
No,
you
I'm
came,
glad you
dear.
came on. Yeah.
Yeah, it really added a little, flavor here. So yeah, good to hear the
Yeah.
different sides and all that. Yeah.
I will say this to you, like it's good to hear that, because I know there are whole life agents that are out there that do not even mention their term policies.
Yeah.
Because
No.
like you said, like I had a lady who I spoke with, and she sold insurance, and she said she went door to door with this guy, and she saw where people could have benefited from having more insurance if they paid less
Mhm.
with the term. And so
Mhm.
she said she asked her trainer, like, like, why didn't you offer them this the term? Like she could have gotten so much more for the same
Mhm.
amount of money. And he said to
Mhm.
her, he said, I can't pay my bills
Mhm.
on term policies. So he never even offered it as an option. And
Yeah.
so
No.
it's
Mhm.
I'm glad to know that you are not one of those people, one of those agents that won't allow a person to get the lower, the pay the lower amount so that they can get more insurance and things like that. Because I think that that is important to be able to have that option to give to
Absolutely.
people. And if you
Mhm.
need them to do investments, you can send them my way, and I help get them
Yeah.
in the investments
Yeah.
for
So like,
myself.
no, I honestly, I pride myself on
Yes.
my integrity and
Mm-hmm.
like my transparency, because at the end of the day, I'm passionate about it. So there's, especially when you out on your own, building your own business,
Mm-hmm.
money don't be coming in as fast. And yeah, if I was doing that, I would have, you go build things fast. But no, I got to be able to sleep at night, and
Yeah.
I want the God that I serve to be,
Oh yeah.
proud of me.
Amen.
So
Amen.
I don't I'm always going to give all the options and make sure I'm putting them in the best position possible for themselves, because my blessing's still going to come. It might not, that may
Amen.
not come right there, but hey,
Amen.
it's not going, that's, yeah. I don't like it, and it's
I
I
love
crazy
love
to
that.
think
this.
When
about
you
it.
said
Yeah,
that, I was like, much respect, like because of
yeah.
you know that there are people out there who want
Yes,
that,
I do.
Yeah.
because that paycheck gonna be much different.
Yes,
That whole life paycheck is different from that term life paycheck.
yes.
Hmm.
So, yes.
Most definitely.
But thank you, ladies,
Yes,
for letting me come
I
on.
if you could add me,
Yes,
send
of
me a
course.
message. Too. Send me a message with your
Okay,
contact info.
I
I'll
sure
connect
will.
y'all. I'll
Okay.
definitely
Okay.
connect
Are
y'all.
you here in
Yeah.
Texas?
I am.
Yeah.
Dallas?
Yes.
Yeah, she's
Yeah, we
here in
gotta get
Dallas. We
together.
all in the same area. All
We all in
four
the
of us.
same area,
Yes.
doing big things in the big state,
Yes.
the Lone Star State. But we ain't lonely.
I know
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
right.
Yes, I sure will. I'll send you a friend request.
Okay, and thank you, Daisy, for connect us when you get a chance.
Absolutely, I will. I surely will.
All right.
This
Okay.
was
Good
meant
night.
to
You.
happen.
Yes, I'm gonna go pin curl my hair now.
Okay.
Okay.
I gotta
Listen
work out in
in
the
though,
morning.
stay on.
Yeah, we gonna stay on. Thank you, V.
All right. Thank you, Desi.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Anybody else? It's already 9:42. The live is supposed to be going for 1 hour, and
One.
we are pretty much done. We will have another live another time. Every Tuesday, we're gonna have this live. Every single Tuesday.
Mhm.
Join us at 8:30 p.m. CST for a live. It's gonna be a different topic every time. So Raven will come back again in the future at some point, whenever, but get familiar with her face just in case you need
Yes.
something.
Yes, yes, yes.
Raven, you can't join on TikTok. You don't have your password.
No, I
We
actually
got a we
don't.
got a whole lot of people on TikTok.
Really? I don't.
Mm-hmm.
If I
That's
join,
why.
So take
not on my
TikTok
business
again next
phone,
time for
I would
me.
have to
Yeah,
get
you
off of
can
Facebook
see.
and
You
get
can
on.
try songs to see if you can come on TikTok.
I can because I'm utilizing my phone for Instagram.
But you can come off Instagram and try TikTok just to show your face on TikTok for a little bit. Y'all can switch over here a little bit, just for a little bit, you know.
Yeah, Desi, are we friends on TikTok? Let me
You
see.
know what? I don't think so. We gotta add each other.
Let me see. Cause I'm not gonna lie, y'all.
I think Son's made it. So I'm waiting on you now, Raven. You need to turn your camera on. I can only hear you. I need to see you.
I think I have several restrictions on my TikTok.
Oh, because you see, you need to create a grown-ups TikTok. You got yourself on the key
Yes, I
control.
definitely need to create an account because this is my daughter's account and it would not allow me to utilize the video.
Okay, I think I just did something, some puzzle thing. Oh wow. Ray, you can join? It won't let you? Okay, I'm rocking Facebook all alone. The live was good, y'all. It really was good. I should have grabbed me some extra snacks. Okay, there's Miss Raven. Okay, I see you, Ray. I just need you to um So let me get you out of here because your camera ain't working. Come back on the. Try to come on Facebook, Sons.
Facebook.
Yeah, or back to Instagram, either one. Okay, Ray, where you at? Oh, thank you. All right, I just followed you back. Send me a request for the live. Send me a request. Send me a request. Oh, thank you. Yeah, green is tax medic CR is green, so I always try to represent, the business colors as much as I can. Otherwise, I'm popping off in some yellow for luxury bookkeeping. Thank you so much. And plus, that's my favorite color. So I'm a Taurus. My birthstone is an emerald, and I'm obsessed with green. Ooh, yes. All right, there we go. Ray, I just invited you. Can you turn on your camera? You here?
I accept it. Can you hear me?
I can. I just can't see you.
Uh, I'm trying to turn my camera and it says it's giving me a message. Live access needed to go live. What?
But you have access. Hold on. Let's see.
I'm like, you wouldn't be able to hear me.
Okay, I think I just checked the button to add you or something.
Okay, let's try.
Yeah. We need to figure this out. It's gonna get easier next time.
It says so. It's telling me live access needed to go live as a guest.
Yeah, but I thought I gave you live access.
So it says
Welcome back, Sons. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Thank you.
How do I do this? Is anybody else from Instagram on here knows how to make this work? Please educate me for a second. How do I give Ray access so she can turn her camera on? I didn't want to complain about my eyebrows, but the camera on Instagram is really making it look bad. The lady messed me up at that place. Okay, so it looks really bad on the Instagram camera. No matter what filter I put on here, it's still bad. Look at it. Oh my god. So it's don't even look bad.
No, it doesn't look good. Figure out what you're talking about.
You want to laugh? Just go ahead and laugh. Oh my god.
It's good.
Ray, I cannot see you. It's showing a number 2. I don't know what the number 2 is for. Expand this. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Why it's not.
Let me leave the live and try to send me another one.
Okay.
Okay. I wonder if we could utilize 3% on the Instagram at a point in time.
I think we can. Yeah, that's something we just had 3 on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just Instagram that worked on Facebook. I don't know how to do it. Research it. So it's doing the same thing.
Yeah, we need to figure it out. I'm gonna have to look it up and see what's going on. So the next time at least. Plus, you need to create an account. Jesus.
I'm checking my settings to make sure it's not
Yeah.
big TikTok.
Maybe it's my settings too. I don't know. Mirror your video, mute your microphone, pause live, settings, block unwanted comments, hear your voice. There's nothing about somebody else's camera. What's that sound? Well, yo, we are gonna wrap up, and we will be back next week Tuesday. So next week Tuesday, we're gonna have another guest who is up for Tuesday. I don't even know, but I know on the 22nd, Anna Murphy is gonna be here. So you know, bring your questions again. Enjoy it while it's free. We're not always gonna do this for free.
Well, thank you so much, Desi, for having me.
Yeah, you're so
Thank you,
welcome.
Raven.
We'll take you to Cancun next time, okay, Ray?
Okay,
Cancun.
gotcha.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye, Ray.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone. See you next
Bye,
week
Desi.
Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. CST. Again, let me repeat myself. Every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. CST. And we will do better at coming earlier. Sons, you were super late. I mean, shoot, I was late too, but you were late.
No, I was trying to figure out things. I don't really come on live, so you should know.
Oh my God. Y'all know I always laugh at taste. So, yeah. But we'll see you next week, okay? We really enjoyed your company tonight. And we're heading to bed. We're tired. Tomorrow is another day to make money. Okay? Bye, y'all. Bye, songs.
Yes. The lady who was talking, what's her profile? What's somebody right?